Thank you all for being here. I'm so happy to be here with you all. My name is Chen, and I would like to open with a question for you. Was there a time for you in your life where you felt like you hit a wall and you couldn't move on? I saw some nods of recognition. For me, this moment happened to me after several stressful years of trying to get my Ph.D. at Yale. I woke up one morning and I didn't remember who I was. I didn't remember my name, where I was located, what I did for a living, or what I was good at. And the first few seconds this happened to me, I was scared. And so I frantically remembered everything I could about myself, and then I felt safe. But along with my identity, rushed in the stressful responsibilities that came with it. And so the forgetful moment was actually more peaceful, but it was already gone. And I tell you this story because you or someone you know may believe that to be successful in your career, you need to forget who you are. And that may mean putting in longer hours at work, sacrificing your health or your social life, and believing that if you value anything outside of work, that you're less committed, less important, or less valuable. And this may cause you to feel frustrated, guilty, or overwhelmed when it comes to making choices, to having a life outside of work. And you may believe that you need to do all that is demanded of you to earn your worth, even if that means putting aside the fun parts of who you are, because you tell yourself that you don't have the time. Next thing you know, you're bringing your work stress home, and it's ruining your love life, or the potential for one. You find that you're getting sick more often, or you didn't get that promotion because you're burned out, and it shows. According to the American Psychological Association, 77% of Americans regularly experience physical symptoms of stress. The other 23% of them are probably the ones causing it. But top-cited cause is due to work overload. And there are 3 subtle clues whether you are stressed out. 1, you're working longer hours. 2, you feel the pressure to succeed. And 3, the last time you looked at yourself in the mirror, you jumped because you thought there was a stranger in the bathroom. Most people believe that by working longer hours that they can get ahead in life and their career. But the truth is that having a life outside of your job is the best thing that you can do for yourself and for the people in your life. And it does wonders for your productivity and your effectiveness. And before I was blogging about less stress and more living in the Huffington Post, I learned this the hard way. I was raised on the motto, no pain, no gain. And I was told with pride that my dad had sacrificed his passion for singing because he could get ahead in school when he studied harder. And so this is what motivated me throughout high school, college, and my first 2 years at Yale. And so at Yale, I was working 100-hour weeks. All right, it was more like 90. Actually, it was more like 70. But anyway, today we're going to talk about ways that you can have a healthier relationship to your work. Maybe not gain 70 hours of your life back, but 5. And it's important that when you get those 5 hours, that you make enjoyment a habit. Because if you don't enjoy that time that you have now, it'll be harder to enjoy it when you get there, wherever there is for you. And so at Yale, I wanted to get my Ph.D. as fast as I could, and so I would work till 1 a.m. on most days and work through my entire weekends because I felt like I didn't deserve to relax until I was done. And so this turned me into a socially anxious and lonely person, but I filled that emotional void with more work because I told myself I didn't have the time. At the same time, I tortured myself with the idea that other people were having fun in life and I wasn't. And so after working this way, weekends and evenings with no social life or hobbies, I began to see a therapist to get back on track because there was this feeling of dissatisfaction that I couldn't put my finger on. And so there I sat in this tan pleather chair in a poorly lit room and a tissue box strategically placed on my right. And I was feeling annoyed with my therapist because I felt like I didn't need to be there. I didn't need her help, that I could do it all on my own. And my therapist asks me in her calm, soothing voice, "Who would you be without what you do?" And my response was, "Oh my God, I would be no one. I would be nothing." And in that moment, I realized I had attached my self-worth to my career. And that was the root of dissatisfaction in my life. And I also realized that the key to valuing yourself beyond your career is to do things for the sake of personal enjoyment rather than for personal achievement. It's not about doing it all. It's about enjoying what you do. And are you comfortable with yourself, regardless of what you've done? And I stand before you today because I know you can have complete freedom from feeling like you're never doing enough or that you haven't gotten to where you want to be. And if there's one thing I do want you to remember, it's that you are important no matter what you achieve. And there are 3 lessons I learned along the way that I'd like to share with you on how to do that. 1 is to take your evenings and weekends seriously by doing something fun that truly disconnects you from your jobs. So one of my clients was a young woman who worked in a high-powered PR firm here in Manhattan, and she was regularly staying till 7 p.m. in the office. She would get home, throw together some dinner, lose track of time, sleep late, and she wouldn't have enough time to get in a workout in the morning, which she loved. And as a result, she was always tired, slightly sick, and not totally happy with the way her life was going. But after working together, she began to honor her time away from the office, get an extra hour and a half of sleep a night, and wake up early to get some cardio done in the morning. And so are you willing to have a healthier lifestyle by truly disconnecting from your job? What will you be doing this weekend? The second lesson that I learned is to release the guilt. So you may not know this, but Ph.D. scientist is a term derived from Latin, meaning your boss will guilt trip you into working on the weekends. See a nod of recognition. Most of the top performers I speak to would feel guilty if they weren't working on the weekends. And at the same time, when we were working on the weekends, we would feel like we were missing out on life. And so this would take a toll on our ability to be present with our work and our ability to take personal time for ourselves. And to study this, a Harvard Business School professor, Leslie Perlow, conducted a study on one of the world's most prestigious consulting firms, where people worked 24/7 because they felt guilty if they weren't working all the time. However, by forcing consultants to take one predicted night off a week really changed the way they defined as good work. The result? Increased job satisfaction, more comfortable taking personal time off, and 70% of the consultants who did take time off were willing to consider consulting as a long-term career versus 49% who didn't take that time off. And this is actually amazing considering that consulting is notorious for high turnover. And so, are you comfortable with your limits? I encourage you to take your downtime seriously without feeling bad about it. Which leads me to my third lesson, and that is that it's okay to say no. Saying no gives you the energy to focus on what's truly important to you. So towards the end of my Ph.D., my boss came up to me and asked me if I would be willing to take on a side project. And as much as I wanted to show him how capable I was of doing it, there just weren't enough hours in the day. At the same time, I was scared of what he would say if I refused. And I was nervous that he would think less of my abilities if I did that. And so as he stood there waiting for my response, I took a deep breath and I told him, if I took on this side project, it would really compromise the progress that I'm making on my current projects. And I wouldn't be as effective as I would like to be on all of them. And to my surprise, he understood. And he respected my boundaries and took the project to someone else who had a lesser workload. And to this day, I'm glad that I stood up for myself and I said no. Jody Glickman, a former investment banker with Goldman Sachs, and able to say no is key to being great on the job. And it's possible to do it in a way while sounding smart, capable, and competent. In her book, Great on the Job, she says that people wrongly assume that they cannot take control of their work assignments or their workloads, when in fact, they can. And so are you comfortable with saying no to what doesn't serve you? And so by taking my downtime seriously, releasing my guilt, and being comfortable with saying no, I owned my worth rather than earning it from an external achievement. And I know these steps work because I learned the power of living my personal definition of success the hard way. And I know that you can own your worth too. And what happened afterwards was that I became less upset when things didn't go my way, less frustrated with other people and myself. And my dating life took off because I was cultivating thriving relationships where I wasn't trying to constantly prove myself to other people. I also had more energy, and so I did outrageous activities I never thought I would do, like performing in a belly dancing troupe and performing stand-up comedy to more than 100 people twice, just because I wanted to. And so are you living your personal definition of success? So many people see success and failure as black and white, but to own your worth, I encourage you to see your success in shades of gray. And so to do this, I have an exercise we'll do together. Like you do, think of a recent success for you. It can be big, it can be small. If it helps to close your eyes, you can do that too. But think of a recent success. Maybe you met the love of your life. Maybe you got that job you always wanted. Or you landed a client recently. When you got that, I'd like you to think of any serendipitous circumstances that led you up to that success. Did you send an intention out? Did the timing seem so right? Were there a series of miraculous events that led up to that success? And when you thought of that, I'd like you to thank yourself for paying attention to it and have acted on it. Really bask in your role in all the shades of your success. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So back to my forgetful moment. I realized we are who we are before we remember who we are. We're not the degrees or the titles that are hung on our walls, but we are the wall itself. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it's fun to decorate our walls. I think it makes life more personalized and more interesting. But are we overloading our walls? Can we see it? Acknowledge it. Because if you don't, it just might crumble under the weight of it all. Or worse, we might forget that it's there altogether. You are important no matter what you achieve. And it's by believing that you are worthy of the life that you're meant to live is when you begin to live it. And when you do, you will become a force that is unstoppable. Thank you.